Vinsmoke Romeo. Boo! Sorry guys, had to hit you with that jump scare real quick. Welcome in, we got One Piece chapter 1159, the post-game show. Just in case this is your first time here, how this works, I always explain it. I feel like it's customary this time, but I like to go through the comment section of the full spoiler video and just see what everybody's talking about. The theories, the goss, the opinions, I'm here for it all, and you guys are gonna join me in this adventure. Kinda like how Hillary Clinton told us to Pokemon go to the polls, we're gonna Pokemon go to the comment section instead, and we're all in this together, guys. That was a weird analogy. I couldn't think of anything, man. I couldn't, brother. It's like 3:30. So anyways, hopping right into it. The top comment. A child is their parents' weakness. I think Dragon saw firsthand from Xebec and Teach. Not just that, with the chapter, I think he might have even seen this with the Garling family. Maybe Garling was about to do something heinous, and then he saw baby Shanks get taken, or baby Shamrock get taken, and then Garling had to do something else entirely. Or this could even refer to Garp and Dragon, because we gotta remember, Garp does come to this island, so what is Garp going to do if he sees Dragon with the young Shanks and Shamrock, right? Would Garp have to throw hands with Garling? Because I think that'd be sick, dude. If Dragon does run the fade with Garling, and if Garling is this all-powerful monster, imagine Garp stepping in, a young Garp stepping in and saying, whoa, 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 Celestial Dragon, hold up, that's my son. That'd be really cool. But yeah, I think we will get a lot of iterations where a child is indeed the parent's weakness, and I agree with that one. This is a trope that I do just absolutely love. And then the whole thing with like a family being a person's weakness as well, right? Like how Rocks is rushing over to God Valley to protect his wife and son. I have a lot of respect for this right here. Next comment says, I think Dragon getting his devil fruit from the chest he left Shanks in would be an awesome callback to when Luffy got his devil fruit from Shanks's chest at the bar. Wait a minute, you're kind of cooking with that one. Yeah, I do think Dragon will get his fruit here from that chest, but having that be a callback and reference to Luffy eating Shanks's chest devil fruit, I think this is a big W. That's good. That's really good. I'm gonna give that one a heart. Garling, fighting to be one of the worst persons in One Piece history. And that's why I love him, dude. Garling. We don't have too many characters in One Piece where they're outright hated by so many people. We've had villains in the past like Kaido enslaving Wano for 20 years, and then we had Doflamingo straight up erasing people's existence with Sugar's powers, but bro, Garling has managed to garner so much hate, and I would say less chapters than all those other dudes. So yeah, Garling being one of the worst persons out there is amazing. And I just wonder, I've been asking this question for a minute now, but who do you guys think will beat Garling? Will it be Dragon? Will it be Blackbeard? Will it be Shanks? Or will it be Luffy? Personally, Luffy is the only candidate I don't want to beat Garling or even fight Garling, because I feel like so many other characters have history with this dude. So many other characters have reasons to hate him, but for Luffy, it's just kind of like another run-of-the-mill villain to him, right? Like, I kind of hope Luffy doesn't engage with Garling. Maybe he does, and then he fights him, and then, somebody else comes in afterwards. Like, maybe Shanks puts his hand on Luffy's shoulder, and he's like, hey, Luffy, leave this one to me. Or maybe Blackbeard does that, right? I think that'd be really cool. Going to the next comment, they say, Xebec, unironically, is a real one, and Harold is just as real. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be nice if Harold went with Rocks, but at least Harold let him go, right? He let him slide for his family. Imagine if Harold chased the Rocks to God Valley to stop him. That would be foul. I think Oda did a lot of positive PR for Harold in this chapter, because last week when Harold was fighting Rocks, a lot of people did not like that, right? I understood it. I actually enjoyed how split that whole scene was, but I do like that Harold, he has a line in the sand, right? He drew the line in the sand here, and he said, okay, I'll fight Rocks, but maybe just not today. Maybe today isn't the right time. This says, Morgan's got crazy aura for a guy who writes news and ate a fat bird devil fruit. Yo, that's the most disrespectful way to describe an albatross. A fat bird. He just casually little broed Cypherpole agents like it's nothing. Yeah, he's got to have something to him. I refuse to believe that he's not a fighter. Like, he's got to have either wealthy parents or influential parents, or Morgan's has straight up conquerors hockey. Bro, the fact that he's doing this at 15 just still blows my mind. Like, I don't get it. Like, sure, Morgan's might be able to beat a Cypherpole agent with a gun, but CP 1 through 8, CP 9, CP 0. Like, where are they, dude? He walked up to Cypherpol headquarters and did this. You know, it's not like he just saw a Cypherpol agent and he said this. No, he's at their headquarters, man. What are we doing here? Absolutely insane, brother. This one says, crying at the moon because it looked like Garling dog. Yeah, this is a funny meme. I thought this was a really funny meme. The picture of kid Blackbeard crying at the moon because it looks like Garling. That is a valid reason, right? Like, if somebody killed my parents, yeah, dude, I'd be crying if I saw something that looked like him, especially every damn night. Every damn night. You look up at the moon, it looks like Garling. Yeah, dude. Oh, I get now why Blackbeard does not like Shanks. Like, Shanks was the first person that Blackbeard truly fought, and he scarred him. Or he said, hey, send this one to your daddy. Next one. Yes, this right here is important. I did make a mistake in this video. I own up to that. Because in the video, I talked about, what if Akainu was here, or Kizaru, or Aokiji, but I forgot that we actually had the exact year in which they joined the Marines. I'll go ahead and read it here. You don't need to wonder why Akainu, Kuzan, and Kizaru were not at God Valley. We know both Kizaru and Akainu joined the Marines 32 years ago at the ages of 26 and 23 respectfully, which was 6 years after God Valley. As for Kuzan, he was just 11 years old during that incident. I think the only reason Dragon was a Marine at such a young age was because he's Garp's son. Yes. So this guy is 100% correct in this. I did make a mistake in that video. And I guess now, now that you cleared it up, I'm just curious, when does Dragon quit being a Marine? Because logically, I think a lot of people would assume that after God Valley, he up and left. I don't think that's the case. Let me see. Before I make another timeline error, let me just actually Google this. One Piece, when does Dragon leave the Marines? Okay, so thank God, but we do not have an accurate timeline as to when he did this. All we know is that by the time Ohara happens, that is when he is, fully gone. So from this point in the flashback all the way until Ohara happens, he could just be a Marine that entire time, which I think is going to be big because, a lot of people, myself included, we're kind of wondering like, okay, did Dragon ever try to change the system from the inside? I think he did. I think before Dragon became a revolutionary, that he actually tried to change the system using his position. Like, maybe deep in his mind, he said, okay, when I become a vice admiral, they'll listen to me. Maybe when I become an admiral, they'll listen to me. And then maybe he witnesses Garp and other characters try to do the same thing, and nothing ever happens. And that is what leads him to leaving the Marines. And the reason why I want him to stay Marine for a little bit is because we could get some backstory between Dragon and Akainu, and maybe even with Kizaru and Aokiji. I think that'd be amazing. And, a long-running theory that I've had, and I think a lot of people are kind of jumping on this boat as well, but I do think that Dragon will lead all of the admirals by the end of the story. I do not think the Marines will always stay this big, bad, evil organization. No. I do think that they will eventually betray the world government, and Dragon could be the one who leads them on that path, right? I feel like he is in the same generation as all of them. He should know all of them. And with all of these characters, right, we have multiple mottos coming forward, with the Kainu being absolute justice. Sengoku is reigning justice. Garp, they revealed it in an SBS. I forgot what it is. But yeah, you get the gist, right? All these admirals have different mottos of justice. I think Dragon will unite all of the admirals under his sense of justice. That is what I think he will do in the future. And to do that, I think he does need a good history with these guys, right? So I do hope that after God Valley, he does not immediately quit. Garling really called his kids adorable, and then in the same breath, cut down their mom. Edit. Also, Dragon saving Shanks, who would go on to save Luffy from the Lord of the Coast one day, is pretty cool to see. I love that. People are calling this cheesy, like, I'm sick of the parallels, Oda, stop the parallels. Brother, he's not stopping. We are going to get more and more parallels as time goes on. The minute we hit the Void Century, it's going to be PP World, brother. It is going to be parallel Wazoo Town. So yeah, I love this callback. I think it's a big W. And Garling, like I said, absolute monster. Absolute monster, and you love to see it, man. Kind of like how people love their villains, right? I always say this. When I say I like Garling, people are like, oh, Sai, you're a bad guy, brother. You got people out there liking villains too, man. I'm sorry if Garling's just the worst out of all of them, brother. It's like liking Johan out of Monsters. I think he's a fun guy to follow. One thing being forgotten is that Rock said he sent his family to his home, not his wife's home. It's very possible that his wife is not from God Valley, and therefore the possibility of her being related to Shanks' mother may be slim to none. That is true. That is true. But the possibility of Rock's being related to Shanks' mother, not zero. That one is not zero. But as far as like Shanks's mom goes, I would not be shocked if she knew Blackbeard's mom. Not related, but if she knew her, that'd be kind of cool. Like, you know, maybe they go to the grocery store and they both see each other. Or maybe, you know, Blackbeard's mom is buying baby formula. And then she sees Shanks's mom and she's like, oh, you have a kid? Well, that's great. I'm expecting 2 of my own pretty soon. I think that'd be nice. This one says, Gunko, being here makes my theory solid. I think the person who killed Rocks is actually Emu herself, and the WG gave the credit to Garp and Roger. From what we've seen so far, Rocks doesn't seem like the villain here, and it doesn't make sense for Garp and Roger to kill him. That is true. As far as this goes, right, Garp and Roger. My headcanon right now is that Garp and Roger didn't want to kill Rocks. They simply wanted to get him off the island. Afterwards, right? Because for me at least, I could see Rocks going absolutely insane after his wife dies. His wife dies, people are trying to kill his kid. I can see Rocks lashing out against everybody. And maybe that's where Garp and Roger step in saying, hey, brother, we get it, but just calm down a little bit, right? Maybe he starts killing the slaves because he's so upset. Maybe he starts killing innocent Marines to an extent. Like Dragon was in harm's way, and that's when Garp steps in. And then maybe same with Roger and his crew. Maybe Rocks is just letting out all of his hockey and his powers, and it starts harming innocent people or, you know, semi-innocent people. I could see that being the case. And somebody said something really cool a while back, and I love it. It might have been Sake when I talked to him, but he said that if we recall all the previous heroes, they're not really heroes, right? This is going to be a little bit of a throwback, but just think about Smoker from Alabasta. He is known as the hero of Alabasta, the man who beat Crocodile, but in reality, that was Luffy. And then we go on, Fujitora is the one who beat Doflamingo. In reality, it was Luffy, right? And then of course with Kobe, the hero of the Marines, the hero of Rocky Port. And then in reality, Blackbeard and Law were there. So yeah, I do not think that Garp and Roger killed Rocks. I think they might have tried to stop him from rampaging too hard, but I do agree that Emu might have been the one who did the final blow. Maybe even the Gorosei, or maybe even Garling, right? I think we're getting a lot of Garling buildup. So if we give Garling the Rocks kill, that would be insane. And you know, going back to this earlier, right? Let me see. A child is a parent's weakness. Brother. If Garling holds baby Blackbeard as a hostage and then kills Rocks, that would be nuts. Xebec is cool as fuck, and I don't mean in a big bad guy villain type of way. The more I learn about him, the more it's apparent that he really was that guy. Yeah, I'm liking Rocks. I absolutely like Rocks. Like I said, at first I was pretty iffy on him. I still don't like his design that much. I think it's cool. It's definitely a step up from Blackbeard, but because he looks so much like Blackbeard, I don't know, it kind of mars it for me. But story-wise, right, I am loving Rocks. I love his relationship with Harold. I love that he's a family man. And I just like him. Cool villain. And I hope that before he dies, Oda does give us a full fight with him, right? Because we saw a teaser with him versus Harold. I want to see a full fight with this guy, right? Over here, fighting Garp, fighting Roger, fighting Garling, maybe even fighting Emu. Ooh, that'd be nice. Rocks' ending is gonna be heartbreaking. Yeah, it will. One thing people forget is that Hachi said each generation of celestial dragons gets worse and more violent and more foolish. That generation still learned about the world's history, while this new generation seems more foolish to know anything. Yeah, and I feel like, you know, when we get that Void Century flashback, I do not believe, this might be a hot take, I floated this a couple of times and people don't exactly like the idea, but I don't think that the world government were villains in the very beginning. I think over the course of 900 years, they became villains, and they developed this god complex, but I do think there is a chance that the WG was established with good intentions. Right? It's one of those things where, imagine starting a book club. I don't know why. Follow me for a minute. You start a book club, and you're like, hey guys, I just really love books. You know, I got my friends here who also love books. Let's just have this book club. And then eventually you graduate college and you're no longer the president of the book club. And then as time goes on, more and more people end up joining the book club and previous members get cycled out for newer ones, yada, yada, yada. And then here you are 900 years later, you go visit the book club and it's an orgy. You know, you got naked people dancing around on tables. You got little book bonfires. You even have the college professors joining in. It's not exactly what you had in mind when you created that book club 900 years years ago, that's just what it became over the course of time, right? Time is tough, especially when you are living atop of the world and you believe that you are a god. So yeah, that's currently what I believe. I don't think that they will be outright evil in the beginning. There might be one or two bad ones, but, you know, when you think about it, 20 kingdoms joined together to take down Joy Boy. That is crazy, right? 20 kingdoms all allied for a single purpose, and now it's to take down the Ancient Kingdom. There's got to be some sort of good logic behind that, in my opinion. You know, I don't think there will be outright evil back then. Nowadays, yes. Nowadays, yeah, we got Garling and the boys, but back then, no. Now, I know why Dragon said children are our parents' weakness. He saw Rocks get killed protecting his son and wife. It is wise of him staying away from Luffy all those years. And, you know, I've been floating the idea of One Piece what-if stories for a while now. But brother, I would love to see a what if Luffy was in mortal danger. What if Luffy was about to get executed at Marineford? What would Dragon do? Would Dragon show up with all the revs to save his son? Would he go solo? Would he even save Luffy? I think he would. You know, I would love to see if Dragon multiple times throughout the story was willing to slide for Luffy. You know, he's over here reading the newspaper like, huh, Luffy's in Wano. He better be safe, you know. Luffy's in Dressrosa, you say? Sabo, make sure to take care of him. Don't let my boy die. Goon Valley goes hard. I love it. Goon Valley is funny. And in this chapter, man, we had so many characters hyping up Shaki. I think there's even one panel with Shiki saying, Rocks and Herald, can you guys stop talking? We gotta go save my girl. Like, he literally calls Shaki his girl already, which is nuts. I think Morgans stays in that form primarily so he can shift into human form and blend in whenever he needs to max stealth. Good for staying low-key to get the scoop. Yes, I agree. And one thing that I think would be amazing with this, by the way, with this idea here, is if when Morgans reveals himself, he would have been present in many chapters. Kind of like how Panda Man is in the background sometimes. You know, Panda Man's like a long-running gag from Oda, but imagine if Morgans was the same way. You go back to like chapter random number, like 127, and there's a bald man just standing in the background character. Chapter 322, he's there again, just a bald man. And this guy, he just keeps on reappearing, and we just think he's a nobody. Nobody at all, until we see that it was actually Big News Morgans hiding in plain sight. I would love that. It's kind of like Scream, huh? Just like Ghostface, it could be anybody. That is Morgans. Chances are, Rocks got Domi Reversi'd, and that's why Garp and Roger had to team up. Makes sense why they would fight him. Also makes sense why they would need both if he got a Oh, wait a minute. I think you're cooking. I like this. Rocks gets Domi Reversi'd. The only thing I don't exactly vibe with yet is the fact that Rocks is such a powerhouse. If he was able to get Domi Reversi'd, I mean, who couldn't, right? But then again, people already have a theory that King Harold gets Domi Reversi'd, or the guards of Elbaf get Domi Reversi'd. Dude, if Rocks can get Domi Reversi'd, then we gotta be careful with Zoro and Sanji going up there. And then Luffy going up there, the new Giant Warrior Pirates. I like this though. I think this does, or would, perfectly explain why Garp and Roger would team up to fight him. Yeah. And then of course the narrative about God Valley gets spun differently because of Sengoku. But then again, Sengoku wasn't there, man. Sengoku wasn't there. We have to take that one with a grain of salt. But yeah, that will be interesting. Next comment says, we did not need that clarification. I don't know what I talked about, huh? Weird. Sai. Ochoku, being the traitor, adds so much context to the Rocky Port incident. Ochoku basically being one of the catalysts for God Valley, where Teach was living, and then being overthrown by Teach is kind of like Teach hitting him with a, you deserve that. Yeah, it's a revenge match. I love this. And also, what's really funny about this, if you think about it, is that Marco and the Whitebeard Remnants just held their revenge match against Teach around this same time. So we're getting like back-to-back revenge matches featuring Blackbeard. So yes, Ochoku definitely deserved it, and I stand by what I said earlier in this previous video, but I wish we got to see how he fights. Hopefully somebody in an SBS will ask Oda about it, because brother, man, I want to hear what fruit this guy was sporting. Did he have Conqueror's Haki? Did he have Future Sight? Like, what made this guy such a menace? I gotta know. The Vinsmoke Romeo cut-in. People are getting pretty sick of the joke because it's being overused and overdone, but I love the Vinsmoke Romeo meme. It's so hilarious, brother. Vinsmoke Romeo is a drawing that Oda cooked up 30 years ago, and it's being circulated today. Who would have thought? And I love, by the way, I called him Vinsmoke Romeo. He's not even a Vinsmoke. Yes, he looks like Sanji. He would have been the Sanji parallel of the past, or, you know, the Sanji inspiration. But I love that we're just throwing the Vinsmoke name there. That's so good. Just wait. Oh my god. Just wait for Vinsmoke Romeo to show up and solo the verse in the Void Century flashback. So, funny enough, I do think, you know, jokes aside, we can get rid of the Vinsmoke name if you don't like that. But I do think we will see a Romeo-esque character later on. Like, knowing how many parallels are supposed to get in the Void Century, knowing how much Oda loves bringing in concept art into the series and making it canon, having Romeo show up as a knight, not bad. You know, Romeo could be a holy knight. Romeo could be one of the 20 original kings and queens. Romeo could just be in the same era as Ryuma, because that was the original idea, right? Ryuma versus Romeo. Yeah, I think he could show up. And the main argument people have against this is that, oh, Sai, you know, all the other characters who showed up, like Ryuma and Gilbastar, and I think there's like one more character too, they're like, oh, Sai, those guys already had stories made by Oda. He's not gonna bring back concept art. I mean, hell, with one of Nami's concept arts, he had Nami with a mechanical arm, and then he brought that back with Ahiru. Of course, like I said, you know, he could mix it up. It might not be like a one-to-one Romeo, but it could be inspired by Romeo. And another thing too is the Watsuki gang, right? Oda drew the Watsuki gang in a very old Shonen Jump cover, and then guess what? In the Vegapunk message, he brought the Watsuki gang into the canon manga. So yeah, like Romeo making an appearance when Oda needs to just flesh out the Void Century, I could definitely see it, brother. Rocks being in a hurry to save his family is probably why we never got to see him alongside his crew at God Valley. Also, Whitebeard even tells Rocks to not rush off ahead. Yes, that is true. You know, there's no time to waste. You hear guns firing, you see cannon fire, you know, celestial dragons are over here murdering people, you got the screams of innocence. Yeah, Rocks is running off to save his wife. I do not blame him. Sabo, at 17, was elite in observation hockey, and Ryuo, after being trained by Dragon for 10 years at that point. I wouldn't be surprised if Garp turned Dragon into a tank. I don't remember Sabo using Ryuo or like showing elite observation hockey per se, but I mean, I could see it, right? If you want to go with that, that's cool with me. As far as Garp turning Dragon into a tank, I don't think so, man. Like, Garp's parenting style, for Luffy at least, was just dropping him in a jungle. And then Luffy got stronger because of Ace and Sabo. I don't know what kind of training Garp did for Dragon. I would hope he's strong, though. You know, I would hope that Dragon is relatively strong. But here in God Valley with all these monsters, I don't think he's ready yet. You know, I do want to stick by my comment when I say that Dragon is a little bit under-leveled on this island. Right? Dragon against most people, sure, right? At the age of 17, that's when Luffy did so much already too. But amongst Rocks and Roger and his dad even, it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Yes, Dragon was 17. Oh, wow, 2 comments that tie back to back. Yes, Dragon was 17 years old by that time, but remember, he was in the Navy and he might have been trained by Garp himself. We all know how Luffy had insane strength physically when he was also 17 years old, and without proper and continuous supervision of Garp. Also, Dragon might have Conqueror's Haki, and as he was initially part of the Marines, he also might have had knowledge of Haki and how to access it. That is true. Granted, though, in this chapter, a lot of people do call Dragon a new cadet, a fresh cadet. So I don't think he had the proper training yet. But like I said, I do think he's going to be relatively strong. I just don't think he's going to live up to the people on the island, right? You know, somebody put it the best way possible. But Dragon here at God Valley is kind of like Luffy at Marineford. Right, Luffy is strong, but we have Whitebeard, we have the 3 admirals, Sengoku, Shanks, and Blackbeard show up later. Like, yeah, strong, but amongst the characters he's with, no, right? And that's not like disrespectful either, right? It's kind of like how people call Big Mom the weakest Yonko. It's like, okay, that sounds bad, but it isn't. Like, come on, being the weakest out of monsters is not an insult, right? Somebody has to take that onus. So yeah, I do put Dragon there. I'm thinking the WG created the narrative that Roger and Garp killed Rocks. At this point, from what I've seen from Roger and Rocks, I just don't see Roger trying to kill a man trying to save his family. Me either. I mean, even in this chapter, right? Roger says, I'm going to kick his ass. He doesn't say I'm going to kill him. He only said I'm going to kick his ass. And then, of course, after they save Shaki, I doubt Roger's really going to do that anyways, right? With everything going on at this island, I don't think he's going to do it. I truly do not think Roger's that type of guy. I feel like 1158 clearly established Roger is just putting on a front for liking Shaki, but actually wants Rayleigh and her to get together. Going to God Valley to save Shaki is not a bad reason at all. There's nothing wrong with saving a friend who also happens to be attractive from being a slave dash forcefully wed. I agree. No, this is how I've always been, man. You know, I do see this. Well, yes, appearance and lust is a factor here. I do see this as an Ines Lobby type situation where people are going out to save Robin, right? At the end of the day, Shaki is a friend, a Nakama, an ally, somebody you care about. And of course, like, this is an awful fate, right? Being a slave and forcefully wed and tortured, etc. Like, brother, I wouldn't want that on anybody. So yeah, I'm all for Roger going there. Ever since we had the Shaki reveal, I felt really good about Roger gooning out to Shaki in the beginning. I said that was a big W at that point. At first, when we got the Shaki thing, I was like, I don't like it, I don't hate it. But ever since we learned that she is the treasure, I'm like, yo, that's big. Yeah, I respect Roger and even the Rocks Pirates for going after Shaki and wanting to rescue her that hard. Of course, are their intentions the best? Probably not. But saving somebody from this fate, I agree with. I outright agree with. And this one says, keep in mind, Blackbeard is at most 2 years old in this flashback. The Holy Knights are for real excited at the idea of hunting a baby. Also, I suspect the fact that the island seems to be home of the Davy Clan is the reason why Shamrock wanted to host the competition there. And yes, that is the case. I completely agree with this right here. And what's funny too is that when you look at the chapter, Blackbeard might be the biggest 2-year-old we've ever had. Minus Colin and the Giants, of course. Like, Blackbeard, he doesn't look 2 to me, brother. Like, he looks like a full-ass kid, but yeah, that's funny. And the reason I bring that up is because somebody said, oh, Sai, he's 2 years old. He might not remember God Valley. But I'm looking at Blackbeard, and that guy's fully conscious, dude. He is awake, and he's looking. He's witnessing the tragedy. But yes, with that being said, though, guys, thank you so much for joining me in this video. I really freaking appreciate it. Let me know all your thoughts down below. And of course, I will be leaving a pinned comment here as well, so you guys can drop your predictions for the next chapter, and then we will go over those predictions the very next day. With that being said, you guys stay safe till then, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out, brothers.